I'm Jochem Aerts, the founder of Ridley Bikes. I started the company when I was 18 years old. My passion for cycling started at a much earlier age, at 4. My biggest brother, 10 years older, started doing competition cycling as he was 14. So as long as I remember, I've been going to bicycle races. So at 18 I started as a frame builder and a painter, making frames, custom geometry frames for other brands. And as long as my period evolved as a supporter or a supplier of product to other brands, after 7-8 years doing the company, I decided to found Ridley and to start making our own bicycle. It was a one-man operation from my father's garage, supported by my father from year one. And then from there on we moved to a small production facility on the industry, and then kept growing organically the company step by step. It's a Belgian company. In Belgium, cycling is the most popular sport, more popular than soccer. But we feel it's very important to be very close to the market so that we can do here the full R&D, testing, painting, assembling. And we are even starting to do our own frame building again in Europe for custom geometry frames, creating new technologies like we did on the fast range, a full integrated carbon brake set. We're the only bicycle brand in the world that offers this option on a competition bike.
So as you can see here, at the moment the clear coat cabin is empty, but it has to be a dust-free environment for the paint to be finished. So the temperatures also change from aluminum to carbon. So aluminum can be put in with a higher temperature, so it has to be in the oven for a shorter period, and carbon has to be in for somewhat longer. So here is the fork wall. Everything, one of those for Gonsolet, Katusha. Older team bikes are still here at the company.
Road is our main market, but we are the #1 cross brand, so we put a lot of effort in cyclocross. We are from Flanders, and Flanders is the region where cross is really a very famous sport. We have been doing a lot of developments in aerodynamics. We have quite a lot of patented technologies. We invest a lot in wind tunnel testing, and we will be having our own wind tunnel next year, so that's going to be a big step for us.
That's where Ridley stands for, is bringing the best for the professionals and do the same product for the consumer in the market.
When designing a bike at Ridley, our primary goal is always the same: to build the best race bike in the world. The concept of each and every Ridley design originates from the same precept. Cyclists from all abilities and backgrounds, be they amateurs, professionals or club riders, all want the same thing: to ride on the best and fastest bikes available. Our development process is both simple and efficient. We start a wish list with clear goals to be implemented in our range. Every solution is thought out with the same philosophy. Form follows function. Before we put our frames into production, our comprehensive list is converted to 3D computer designs, on which we carry out extensive testing. The results of these varied tests has formed the basis of some of the greatest innovation. The integrated seat tube with the corresponding seat post clamp provides extra stiffness and an improved aerodynamic function. Oversized head tubes were introduced by Ridley in 2001 on the Damocles, and they're now the norm in the bike industry. The vibrations on the fork are significantly reduced because the forces developed in the head tube are spread over the larger surface of the oversized bearing. This improves handling and provides extra stiffness on the fork. In addition to physical wind tunnel testing, we work heavily with 3D simulation modelling, which allows us to cover all variables. The prototypes developed from these designs are originally stress tested on the computer. Once these model tests are satisfactory, we move the testing process to the field and our Ridley professional riders. Our Pro Team riders are constantly testing our bikes and provide continuous, invaluable feedback. We take this feedback very seriously and implement much of it into further and continued development of the bikes. The models available to buy by the public are direct derivatives of those tried and tested by the professional riders. The technology becomes available to the public with no modifications or shortcuts, only 6 months after the race teams have been issued with it. For some prototypes, we develop plastic models using 3D printers. These mock-ups allow us to test both the form and function of the technology before committing the designs to production. These prototypes are continuously fine-tuned until every detail has met with our high standards. The choice of the different carbon fibers is crucial. Our carbon frames require more than 100 different carbon fiber materials. Every layer of carbon requires the exact strength and stiffness with different layups in different frame locations. We use the knowledge and experience of our engineers to determine the correct layup schedule of the carbon layers in order to obtain the best results. Our ton rating is very simple. It simply refers to the strength rating or tensile modulus of the carbon. The higher the rating, the stronger the carbon, thus less material is required. Our ton ratings are 60, 50, 40, 30 and 24 ton high modulus carbon fibre. After the development phase, we produce moulds for the production of raw carbon frames. Once the moulds are fully developed, frames can be produced in whatever quantity is dictated by the demands of the market. Our team coordinate the logistics and delivery of frames and components to our sizable holding warehouse. We monitor both supply and demand to ensure that we always have enough frames and parts on hand to build each possible variation of the bike available. The spec on each model of the bike is always trickling down from the higher end models, and the design of our bikes is continuously being refined, meaning that keeping on top of these changes and maintaining sufficient but not flooded stock levels is a demanding task. The raw frames are quality checked thoroughly with special attention to our carbon frames before they're sanded, cleaned and prepped by hand. The frames then enter the production line for painting and final preparation. From an early stage, our design department are heavily involved in designing the visual look and finish of the bikes. We've been specialists in hand-painted frames since the birth of Ridley in 1997. This extensive experience has given us a world-class understanding of design and paint, and their application to every possible type of material. Each model of bike has a unique design, which is created in-house, incorporating the feedback and requirements of our team, our component suppliers, and the pro race riders. The design is modified to fit each frame size. These designs are then split into layers, each one representing a colour layer of paint. These are printed out onto a film using a precision plotter printer. A small blade cuts into the film from incredibly detailed coordinates. We subsequently pick out and peel back the cut areas to reveal the stencil or the negative of the design. This film is then stuck onto the application layer. Each sheet represents the size-specific stenciling for each relevant frame. These are clearly marked with all the necessary logging and application details and are filed. The stencil application layer allows the transfer film to be precisely applied to the frames for spraying. This masks certain areas of the frame against the paint, while acting as a window for the paint to be sprayed. Every colour and design detail that you see on the finished frame will have been carefully applied by hand, one layer at a time. These transfers are applied to a previously prepared frame, which has been sanded and cleaned. At this stage, the actual painting begins. At Ridley, we draw on our heritage and roots as master frame painters to deliver the highest quality paint finish. The painting process is applied in layers, beginning first with a clear coating, which acts as a primary bonding layer to the frame. This layer is then left to dry. Once the base layer is dry, subsequent colour layers are applied in reverse order to what's visible on the finished frame. After each stage of painting, the frame is once again left to dry before adding the next layer. After the final colour details are added, in this instance, the red of Ridley branding, the paint is once again left to dry. Once the paint is dry, the stencil transfer layers are removed to reveal the nearly completed frame. This is a delicate task, which often involves precisely removing tiny details of the transfer layers. The frame is then cleaned and the paint finish is quality checked before having a final clear coat lacquer applied to the entire frame to complete the process. Once the clear coat has dried, the frame is baked gently in an oven. At the end of the painting process, frames are quality checked again, milled and prepared for either full bike assembly or shipping as a bare frame. Frames can be assembled using thousands of individual components and tens of thousands of possible variations. Our staff select the parts specific to each model or custom specification and sort them with each frame along 2 stages of picking. Each and every component on the bike is picked and assembled by hand. Assembly is done individually by trained mechanics. All Ridley bikes are built individually and never in a production line. By working this way, we're able to offer a greater number of possible model variations. And because each bike is constructed by an individual mechanic, we're able to ensure the quality remains at the highest level at all times. The completed bikes are then boxed ready for shipping. Our bikes are shipped direct to retailers in Europe and shipped via distributors in the rest of the world. We have a global presence and our main international markets are Europe, Japan, USA, Australia, South Korea and Canada. Each product and model of bike is extensively photographed in full 360-degree panoramic for our catalogues, websites and promotional materials. Our dedicated and knowledgeable sales team spread the word of our new products and bikes to our retail clients. This often includes on-site visits by our clients to the impressive Ridley showroom. Our clients are extremely important to us, and we take great pride in showing them around our factory to give them an in-depth insight into our philosophy for engineering Ridley bikes. In buying a bike from Ridley, you'll have the peace of mind that each and every calculation, shape and design decision has been made and implemented by our passionate staff, following extensive testing, development and scrutiny. Throughout the lifespan of each model, there's continued development, modification and ultimate improvement of the bike. We are Ridley. We are cycling. We are Belgium.
Right, we have got a very, very special surprise for you all today. We are at the Trek factory. Trek have been based in Waterloo, Wisconsin since 1976, and today we've got a very exclusive look around their factory and manufacturing facilities. This is going to be very cool, I promise. Let's go. This is absolutely amazing. This is the atrium. This is the first thing you get to when you come into the Trek factory. Just look at it. It's incredible. Each area is designed to represent a Trek brand principle, but look at the bikes. Amazing stuff. Right, so each of the areas in the atrium here is based around one of Trek's brand principles. This one is born in a barn because Trek, quite literally, was born in a barn, or their first bikes were manufactured in a barn, which is on site here in Waterloo, Wisconsin. We'll take a look at that in a bit. But these are some of the very first bikes. So 1976, the Trek 710, the first steel frame, one of the first 100 steel frames that was ever made. So there's the frame. Let's move on from the retro side of things to raised on rocket science. So this is about Trek's history of innovation and making new products. So 1991, the Trek 2500, their first carbon fiber frame. This is the 7-tube design. There was a 3-tube design as well. So each of these carbon tubes is glued or bonded into an alloy lug. You can see it's pretty retro because although you have a carbon fiber frame, you've got an aluminium fork. And if you follow me this way, this is the Project One area. And this is something I'm particularly excited about because I was lucky enough to design a Project One bike, and I've ridden it a couple of times. I'm hoping to ride it again. But you get to design your own bike, the paint job, the componentry, and you come up with designs like this, if you've got a bit of taste, just to show the level of effort that goes into Project One bikes. This one at the top is called Real Flames. I guess that's pretty self-explanatory, but there's no set stencil. It's really down to the painter's interpretation of it, and it takes 12 hours for an individual painter to take this from bare carbon fiber to that stunning paint job. The final part of the Trek atrium that I want to look at are the Trek Pro Team bikes. So we have got the Trek Segafredo Madone. Red bikes go faster, probably. We've got the Trek Pro Caliber cross-country bike. Moving on, we have got Trek Dirt Jump bike. I wouldn't even know where to start with that. And finally, the Trek Session downhill bike. So Trek have always supported pro athletes at the top level of the sport and continue to do so across many, many branches of cycling. A Trek Amonda frame comes in 8 pieces. It's going to take me less than 60 seconds to assemble one, I think. Definitely less than 60 seconds. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go. There we go, that was definitely less than a minute. So Trek make around 20 frames a day here at this facility in Waterloo, Wisconsin. And this room right here is where it all happens, from the raw rolls of carbon fibre through to something very much like the finished product. Let's go and take a look. Glasses on. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I've got no idea what I thought a bicycle frame manufacturing facility would look like, but if you didn't too, here it is. Let's go over to where it all starts. Here we have rolls of carbon fibre. This is 12K unidirectional weave. Each roll of carbon fibre is actually recognisable because the different types of carbon fibre are differently colour-coded here and also stamped there. This isn't white carbon fibre, this is fiberglass that is used in some frames. And carbon fibre comes pre-pregnated with the resin that bonds it all together, so it actually needs to be kept in cold storage. It's shipped here in refrigerated trucks, and behind me is a massive freezer where it's all kept. These two machines cut the sheets of carbon fibre we've just seen into frame-sized chunks. So these are the building blocks of your next Trek frame. I don't know what those are, but this is a laser-guided machine, so this is cutting down sections of a next Trek Amonda frame. Around 200 pieces go into each frame, so there are a huge quantity of pieces cut down, and this is programmed to reduce waste as far as possible because carbon fibre is actually quite an expensive manufacturing material, and it's also quite difficult to recycle, although Trek do recycle all of their offcuts from this process.
We do recycle as much carbon fiber material as we possibly can. Frames, raw carbon fiber, pre-preg, and non-compliant molded parts, test frames, warranty returns, those types of things. We are making, right now, 20 frames a day, and then there would be anywhere from 50 to potentially 100 different hands, different people that would be touching the frame throughout its manufacturing process.
So this is something that you'll find a lot more recognisable in the sheets of carbon fibre. This is the front end of a Trek Madone frame, fresh out of the mould here. We're now going to take a look at the painting process here at Trek, and to do that I need a side change. Got to wear a lab coat. Before we can go into the painting room, we have to go through an air shower. What's that? Let's find out. And we're in. And we are into the paint room. This is where Trek's frames get hand finished. So most of the frames here are painted by Trek's paint robot, which we'll look at shortly, and these are the ones fresh